Morning. This is your Sensei Al Bob. I'm talking to you from the school. We're online going live, and it's almost 1 p.m. So why did I pick 40 days? Noah's life was transformed in 40 days. Moses was transformed in 40 days in Mount Sinai. Hello, my friend and family. And Noah's life was transformed not just by the 40 days of rain, but the hundreds of days it took him to build the ark. The spies were transformed by 40 days in the promised land. David was transformed by Goliath's 40-day challenge. Elijah was transformed when God. And I will be saying love when most people say God. Elijah was transformed when love gave him 40 days of strength from one single meal. And that's God's co-creation. Why are we here? We are spiritual beings in these ugly bags of water. Why are we here? Because we walked away from the garden through our own free will. And what do we got to do with it? It was a blessing that we did that because we have a chance to prove our better selves. We can be like Daffy Duck with the devil on one side and the angel on the other. Or we can step up and be that angel of our better good. But all through the Bible, 40 days keeps coming up. Jesus was empowered by 40 days of wilderness. The disciples were transformed by 40 days with Jesus after his resurrection. We can choose moral integrity. And what is that? We do what we can do. And we always give the excuse, but I'm just one person. Well, stop being one person. I keep trying to get you guys to join the band. Yeah, okay, so it's tough to drop whatever you're doing and come visit a beautiful place and be transformed. I know that's tough. You're stuck in that material job. You gotta pay, mate, I can't talk about this stuff. I got kids to feed. Well, bring them along, As an artist in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I was with a bunch of people, and they never stopped doing their art. They never stopped being the social animal. They never stopped being involved in their community, even when they have kids and had families, Having kids and families is what happens when you're having life. Exactly. No reason to kill yourself. It gets better. And especially if you do it with other people. So many folks have, sealed themselves up in the social media world. I had a friend of mine back in the 90s, and she was the queen. She invented social media. She was a whiz. She went and got her PhD in library sciences, and that was the doorway into computers. Or computers now. I'm like where I am in the library. And she and I were great buds, and we had so much fun. And the more she got into the internet, when it was just coming online, she stopped having anything to do with people. I used to drive by her house, and I'd see the blue glow at night in the window, and I'd stop and knock on the door, and she wouldn't even answer. She wouldn't even say anything, but the blue glow was there. And she asked me, because we both worked at a university, she asked me at one time, stop coming by. I'm too busy. So Moral abdication is when you give up all hope and you trade it for despair of materialism, the despair of having those new shoes, the despair of buying things on Amazon, the despair of how I'm going to pay my bills. What do I need to do? Can I meet my twin flame on the internet? No. Go out and have a life. Get involved. There's so much that needs to be done. So many people in our community we see as the other, and they're not the other. Right behind me we have the fluorescent light over there that's going on and off 60 times a second, mesmerizing you. That's why people feel like crap. Or, out the window, blue skies. Around here we had the tail end of Hurricane Mike up in the mountains. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday it rained. Thursday and Friday really rained hard. And Saturday, it rained all morning and then it broke. And it was blue skies, blue skies. And I was sitting in the middle of a field surrounded by flowers that were still up because like today it's almost 80, 77 degrees. And trees haven't even, here it's middle of October, trees haven't even turned colors yet. But they're being microwaved off the trees, They don't turn colors, they're green, and as they flitter down, they go from green to brown to black before they hit the ground. Kids, this is Sensei Al Bob's channel, not John's channel. John has nothing to do with this, except John is a perfect example of the mesmerized, miserable person. And it's the last couple of days it was cold, so I'm gonna head back to Johnny's school. He's been begging me to do more YouTubes with him, and I, question why. Yeah, we do live in the Matrix. That movie was straight up, right on. Movies are the gestalt and also heads up of what's going on. That's why I've gotten into this YouTube, because it's as close as I can do a movie. And I used to do movies back there in the 70s and 80s on Super 8 and 16. Then I got into Manhattan Cable via Potato Wolf. Go on the internet and look up collaborative artist projects. And our TV show on Manhattan Cable was Potato Wolf. And since we're giving shout outs, anybody out there know how to do Patreon accounts? Get a hold of me at my Gmail account, thedudeawake42. Oh, that's John. John is part of the live chat. Hey, Johnny, how you doing? Anyway, and but John, how could I go with you? Because before we even got 10 miles, you'd throw me out of the car. You'd treat me like crap. You'd get so anxious, so upset. No, unless you can treat me like the brother I treat you like as. I'm always there for you. I'm always understanding. I never get mad at you. I never throw you out, Before you had any place to go, before we closed on the school, I let you stay there for free for a month without worrying about it, Because you needed a place. Anyway, I'm out here in the woods and it's still really beautiful. And this week's supposed to be amazing. And I'm going to go back when it's right to go back, but it's probably the next few days. but I have no money to go from here, to travel 200 miles and get thrown out the next day. It's hard. Now, there are some things I need to do. I need to get my medicine. I have another eye exam, and I try to do a bunch of things at once. You're at the video chat. You're on the video chat. Anyway. You're here, John. You're on the video chat. And again, kids, there's John. He's on the video chat. Why don't you folks ask John why he's so anxious, why he's so upset, why he can't, he's got 2 kids he should be with, and it's not because his wife. I had a friend of mine. He was a writer of music, and he got divorced. Being on the road and being venal, he'd always get in trouble, and his wife couldn't take it, so she said, "That's it." They got divorced, and but man, whenever he had a spare moment, he would rent a RV, a Silkstream or one of those bussy things, and he would drive to wherever and hang out at the end of the driveway. Wouldn't go on their property, and the kids would come home from the bus, and there would Dad be in the bus. He'd be there for weeks until he had to go someplace. So he did everything he could to be with his kids for like 20 years, until they grew up and came back to him. But they only came back to him because they saw that he tried in every way and every day to be with them and to show them that he loved them, and he didn't, put their mother in between it. No, he just, was always there when he could be there, and he didn't complain about how much it cost, and he didn't get upset that his wife wouldn't let him on the property, but he'd stick his RV there, and, the kids would get off the school bus and have to walk by the RV, and they'd go hang out with Dad for a week or 2 or a month or whatever. And he had, X amount of time. So, his wife would let, she didn't not trust him with the kids, but she just didn't want to see him. And, so he would, when they had holidays or whatever, he would take them out and, again, show them that he loved him by being there when he could, in a way he could. And that's what we need to do for all our brothers and sisters, for all our relations. We need to be there. But so I'm in this little town, and, I'm a social scientist, so wherever I go, I try and figure out what's going on. And everybody in this town has a reason not to trust their neighbor. They grew up with them. This is a small town. Everybody knows everybody. And, whenever you question what somebody is doing that you can see it's wrong, instead of them saying, gee, thanks, they're like, right there in your face. So pretty much everyone is abdicated in this town. And in the city of Roanoke, they've abdicated and given up. And in the federal government, they've abdicated because there is a posse or a cartel or whatever you want to call it, but there's a group that's very much like, if you ever watch Captain America movies, there's Hail Hydra. Well, Hail Hydra is the force that is trying to bring everyone down, trying to get in everyone's face, trying to make humanity eat itself, because that's not our natural state. Our natural state is homeostasis. What's that? Balance. Why is John Birmingham so upset about his life? Because he's a Libra. He's out of balance, and just one little tip or the other. Me, I'm an Aquarian. Everything goes wrong. Constantly, every day, there's something that I could get really upset about, but I don't. I see it as a lesson to further patience. Why did I spend so much time with John Birmingham? Because it was a lesson of patience. If you go watch all the videos on John's channel, which he gave me no credit, no money, no nothing for, would give me no control, no insight. Whenever we did live chats, I couldn't even read the screen. I just told the story. And that was fine because it gave me the chance to, work on being balanced, patient, understanding. I was letting homeostasis happen. And most of us don't. We live in a fight and flight mode where we, are looking at everything as terrible. What? We don't live in a fight or flight mode, John? I mean, you constantly say that, but you have to be either, you can't, why do I have to be nice to everybody? I don't like black people. You know what? I want to be a really mean Republican. Or, oh, I don't want to be a mean Republican. I can't stand it. Everyone's making me do this. They're all saying I can't do any videos because everyone judges me. Buddy, I put up these videos, quite often, and I have to travel 40 miles to do it. You have the best internet on the planet. I'm glad you feel happy, John. I always want you to feel happy. But, when I show up, 20 minutes after I show up, you say, I feel the worst. I want to kill myself. Oh, I'm so miserable. You have to leave. You're making me upset. You've never said that? Oh, come on, buddy. So why'd you throw me out, 30, 40 times in the last year and a half? Why? I haven't been around, John, because between Donald Trump's election in 16 and last Christmas, you threw me out 26 times, and most of them in the middle of the winter, in the middle of the snowstorm, and a lot of times you would come down and wake me up at midnight and say, get out. I couldn't get out. I couldn't even see. So I'd just turn over and go to sleep, but you'd be there knocking on the door as soon as the sun could get out, get out, get out. And I always saw that as a challenge to be empathetic towards you, to be patient with you, to love you. Never hold it against you, because I knew once I left the door and went down the hill, the universe would take care of me, would put me in a place where I would have amazing adventures. The first time you threw me out. So, John, we did, Donnie Jump. And it was hilarious, and you did a great job on the post-production, this Tom Brokaw voice and the, breaking news and all of the above. And it was hilarious. People loved it. And then Donald Trump won. And you threw me out because you thought that our video made Donald Trump win the election. And you were scared that people were going to blame you. I mean, come on, buddy. It's just a chumpy video. And I could have stayed there for 10 hours and talked you down and stayed there another day, and then you'd throw me out again. But I didn't. I left, and it was really cold out. It was, November 2016. And I kind of went down the hill, not knowing where I was going to go. And at that time, I was working at a church, and I had run into a really brilliant person who I thought was a really outstanding woman. Later to find out, kind of a transgendered person, which was fine. And that's, and I was, staying in a kind of boarding house of transgendered LBGT folk. Now, I had a lot of gay friends in the 60s, 70s, because I worked in the theater. But this was like total submersion. And to see what those folks had to go through, for anyone to say that they chose that lifestyle. Anyway, so for almost 2.5, 3 months, I lived downtown in this, in this hostel of, not hostile as meaning anxious, but hostile as a like hotel of LGBT folk. And it was amazing. It was just to see how they, and I made it through every day. And I did my best to help all those folks find a job, get involved. Was always a person to listen because, again, it was my challenge to be empathetic, loving, caring, and part of a community. Even though my sexual orientation wasn't that way, I could still be a brother. I could still be there for them. And that's why I've always been there for you, John. Always watching out for you, always thinking about you, always trying to do the best for you because you're my friend. People, how can you stand that guy? Because you're my friend. And I'm hoping for the best outcome for you, John. I'm hoping that you will find that balance of your scale. I'm hoping that you can go get a, RV and park out in front of your wife's place so your kids can come visit you. What's so funny about that? You living with your kids. What's so funny about, no, I didn't say you were gay, John. I don't even know what your sexual orientation is, and I don't really care, Oh, whatever. But let's go back to community, folks. Yeah. The guy who I'm thinking about, he was a Canadian musician. He had a big, gruff voice. And he was real popular in the 60s, and then he kind of drifted away. And then before he died, he had a big success. Just like, it was the same year that Johnny Cash, David Bowie, and this guy died. And they all put out records in the last days of their life, and they were all their best songs, Johnny Cash's song about his death. And he's not dead yet, but he's singing about it, I'm really sick. And even though I, the medical model, wanted to kill me, basically, took all my money and tried to kill me. And I said no. And so every morning I have to wake up and meditate. Like this morning, I'm sitting, up in a tree, catching someone's Wi-Fi, greeting you. And that was the time I was meditating. And I was listening to public radio. And, that's as, prejudice as Fox News or MSNBC or, to understand what's going on, you have to get information from many sources. That's what I do. And also talk to many people. Meaning, one of the nice things about this little town is I've been here a long time. Everybody kind of knows me. And I don't really push my opinions on anybody. I ask them for theirs. How they doing? What are they thinking? How are they feeling? What's going on?
No, that's important. Very good. Okay. Take care of that.
And so this morning, I was listening about, how Donald Trump says, oh, yes, the weather's changing, climate's changing, but I don't think it has anything to do with human involvement. And I don't trust scientists because they're prejudiced by their political opinions. Give me a freaking... That's not what science is, kids. Yes, people have their opinions and they're a scientist. Yes, people, the first time I ever took a statistics course, my teacher said, "Okay, kids, I'm going to teach you how to lie with numbers." Yes. And, I spent 30 years in universities studying things, and I watched the scholastics bend truth, not the scholars. So I've always been a scholar. There were a number of times I could have been a tenured professor, but then I'd have to be a scholastic. I was working in this one university, and the head of the department I was working in said, Al, if you would just, stop always wearing your pajamas, come to a few of the cocktail parties with the other professors, I would retire and put you in charge. And that's when I quit. And that's why I'm living in the woods, But that's my choice. And, like this morning when I was waking up to screaming pain, I wake up right at the right time, around 5 in the morning. And I go outside naked, even if it's like Thursday, Friday. It was not raining really hard. Thursday, it was raining really hard. But Friday morning, it was like there were bands, and it was in the middle of the band. And I went outside, and it had gotten really cold. And, it had been 80 during the days and 60 during the weeks, and during the 60 during the night. And that's pretty comfy, The rest of the winter was like that. I'd have no problem in the woods. And I got up and I walked out, and I was naked, and it was really amazing because the moon was just starting to wax, and it was behind a cloud, but it was illuminating the cloud. And there were streaks, breaks in the cloud where the edges were being illuminated, and I could see stars. And the rain was not hard. It was like a mist, a heavy mist. And I was sitting there, standing naked, and I was, warm but cold, covered in clouds, but I could see the moon and the stars, and the pain was like and is a compliment to my abilities to meditate and appreciate the moment. Because when I'm meditating and appreciating the moment, I don't feel the pain. And our pain can be our friend because it wakes us up to things that we need to see. And so I have a good doctor here, and I got a couple of good doctors in Roanoke, which I have to go back and visit. And they kind of take care of me in the ways they can. But they're very amazed. My one doctor says I'm the healthiest dead guy he knows because, he says, you better watch out if you get stuck up there in the snow in the middle, because I have to come 40 miles to make a phone call. So, he says, if you were to fall down or get stuck out there and electricity went off, or, we'd find you next, in the spring being eaten by squirrels, what better ways to go, ending up as squirrel poop. And again, we are spiritual beings experiencing a materialist body. We're our little bags of water here that, John wants to get so cut and look like a movie star. No, these are just avatars, I was in Boone. Boone's a real college town, and there is the IHOP is my perfection. I mean, I get 5 bars phone, and they got really good internet, and everyone there loves me. But they're really can't eat their food. And there is an ale house. There are about 10, 20, 30 ale houses in this college place, and most of the food, when the IHOP is one of the top 5 food in that town, the town's food sucks. So there is this ale house that the food is, they have a pretty good meatball pizza. They make really good meatballs. So their spaghetti and meatballs is good. Their meatball pizza is good, and their meatball hero is good. And I go in there, and there's always 20 really attractive college women who are, the waitresses there. It's kind of a sports bar. It's kind of a lot of things. Hang out. And I sit there. They gave me a nice little table with a light over it so I can read. And people know I can read their palms and their runes, and so people come, especially the girls, love, to get a 411 on what's going on. And so that's where I'm at there too. And I'm really amazed by the young people who are going to, because they're really smart, they're really on top of things, but they have totally, abdicated their lives to this materialism. That's going to crash and burn. I mean, it already has. Meaning, '08, the wizard was unmasked for being the charlatan and fool that he is. When the big banks failed, and they took trillions of dollars from us. They basically had the Fed print $26 trillion of electronic money, which they then used to buy back their stocks. Why do you think the stock market is doing so good? Why? Because the economy is great? No, the economy is dismal. All the underliers, like usually when you have that kind of money, you give raises to your workforce, not, ship it out, or invest in robots. No, we are like within 40 days of something really happening. And we can either step up to it and forestall it and bring forth a better alternative, or we are going to be in a mess that no one has ever seen before. And, I have no children. I have no biological anything to worry about. Well, John, we all have that roboticness in us. Whenever you try to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome, that's a robot. When you say the same thing about the people in your life who love you, that's a robot. When you can't interact with people, that's a robot. Whose, software is corrupted. Now you can either reprogram and go a different path and try a different way, And John, not everything is about you. When we think that everything is about us, we are ending our life because all we can think about is ourselves. When we embrace all our relations, 9 generations from the past, our elders, and 9 generations into the future, our children, our children's children, our children's children's children. What world are we leaving them? What we live now in a toxic wasteland, a political marasma of suffering. What's going on in the Mideast was started, and if you look at any empire, the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, they're all like us. We're all the continuation of that imperial mistake. Walking out of God's paradise into our material world was the beginning of empires. And, when you are thinking about empires, oh, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a movie star, I want, I've done movies, I've worked harder than I. No, it's about us, we, all your relations, everyone in your family, especially your children. What kind of life are your children gonna have, folks? You know, how can we change things for the better? You're right, reincarnation's a trap. You basically have to ascend, go above this, not come back into it, and when you reincarnate, you just come back to this, when you ascend, you go into another dimension, all the great folk who basically surrendered to their path of service, that's what I'm doing and have done my whole life. Yes, I've had a good time. Yes, I showed you those pictures of all those art things, but that was, every time I tried to do what, you know, the status quo wanted me to do, be a priest, be an engineer, be a scientist, be a businessman. I always, and when I was an artist and a scholar, I kept trying to be in service to all my relations, to be there for the other as a brother. And that's what I've done with John. John, you're my brother. I'm always there for you. Even though you throw me out, even though you treat me miserably, scream at me, yell at me, blame me for everything. I'm always there as your brother. And I've, since December 26th of last year, I've stayed up at the school 32 times. And mostly because I didn't want to do the same thing over and over again. I now come and visit instead of live there. And if you need to throw me out, yes, it's hard to marshal resources when you only have $540 a month and, your car driving you 200 miles one way to go visit you and then be thrown out the next day. It's hard. Okay. So I'm heading back to visit John. And hopefully, we can start a new path, instead of talking about the same thing. We can try and marshal our forces to do something new and exciting, because John is a talented guy. He's got more tools in his toolbox than most people. He is a, really good drummer and a good musician and a good writer and a good cinematographer and a good everything he does. Once he puts his mind to it, once he starts worrying about it, he's good at it all, He just has to own his own life. He lets other people own him. Don't need to do that. Okay, here's 38 million. Let's see. Here's 38 minutes and 23 seconds, 25. Well, this was a good chat. Is there anything else? Anybody? There's 4 of you there. One of you is John. Who's the other 3? So anyway, okay. So I will be heading back your way, John. Like I said, midweek, depending on weather. And so I'll see you soon, buddy. I have an appointment next week, but I'll be there before the weekend. And I hope you're good, because I'm good. Is everyone else out there good? I'm going to sign off at 40 minutes, 40 seconds. So I just want to tell you all how much I love you, family. And folks, go tell other people to go look at, Sensei Al Bob, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, Tell everyone to go contact me at my the dude awake 42 at Gmail, and everyone should go read my writing at my xratted.blogspot.com. And that's supposed to be, it's called, Griot Publishing. I wanted it to be a publishing site for people to put up what they wanted, and we'll figure it out, We still got, today's the 4th day of 40, I think. So we still got 30-something days, 36 days to make things work, to heal the world, to make everybody happy. Yeah, come on. God built the universe in 7 days, so we got 38 left, 36. Counting down. So here we are, almost 40. I love you guys. Stay well, be good. Ciao.